Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Board Games Unlocked, and Brian and I are doing a discussion for Beer and Bread, one of the newest games by Capstone Games and designer Scott Alms. I knew nothing about this game at all. Didn't even know it was a two-player game. Didn't know anything because I was like, Beer and Bread, that sounds fucking lame.
I saw it when it came out at like Miniature Market. I looked at the cover, didn't really think about it a whole lot. You know, it was kind of like that. And my wife actually was like, "Oh, that looks good."
And you were like,
so then I clicked on it to look at it a little bit closer. I was like, Scott Alms. It's like, oh, Capstone. I was like,
yeah.
So Capstone's what sold it, for me, because I was like, oh, I've been on a Capstone Games kick the last year, so because they just put out
banger after
so
banger.
I'm just like, it was cheap. You know, it was only like $25.
Yeah.
Or something for all the, I mean, when you get wood component, you know, and everything, it was really cheap to get it.
Head to head. Yeah. If I had known it was a two-player game with Capstone, I might have looked at it because they did Watergate. Mm-hmm. And Watergate is a phenomenal head-to-head game. But then I would have saw the designer and been like, oh, never mind. Because Scott Alms is mainly a miss of a designer for me personally. He has some that I'm like, oh, this is good. But for the most part, I mean, I think he's the one behind all the Tiny Epic.
He is, and then he also did Warp's Edge.
Warp's Edge, which was good. He did the Dragon's Road games, which are good.
Didn't he do? No,
and he did Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea.
I'm thinking of another big game that he did, but he wouldn't put that.
Yeah, but he did the Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, the big one. So, but anyway, this game is great. This is very, very smart of a design. Like, lately, my tastes have been... I've been more wanting to just focus on games that I play, you know? So whenever I play new games that are coming in, it's like, oh, this is good, not going to keep it. I don't own this game, this is yours. But this is one I'm like, well, I'm going to get a copy.
I told you.
You did tell me. You finally got what, like, we need to keep a tally. This is like the second game you showed me that I'm like, oh! I have one minor gripe, which we talked about it whenever it happened in the game we just played. And it's not that big of a deal. It's just a weird design decision in my head. But I can still kind of justify it. But overall, like... I don't really have any issues with this game. I think the flow of it is really well done. It's a different style of head-to-head of resource management. The abilities you get are really cool. And it's not long. Like, that's the thing. It's like,
short.
I guess the abilities aren't, like, superb. You're not getting game-busting upgrades. But you still get upgrades that are cool and unique in the length of the game.
And it's a nice head-to-head. Like, you're not being vicious. Like, you have to share extra resources with your person, and they get a choice. You know, so it's like...
Yeah, you
can't
not
just
like flood them with shit and be like, okay, thanks, I was going to gather resources, but I guess I can't.
I'm going to send a bunch of insects over to your farm and get your stuff. Or,
yeah.
You know.
The only type of negative you could do, because it is head-to-head, is there's two phases. There's the what is wrong with me?
And dry.
Yeah, I was gonna say fruitful and bounty. So I'm Frounty. The fruitful phase and then the dry phase. And in the fruitful phase, you're passing cards. So you're doing kind of like a draft. Not quite akin to Seven Wonders. You're not building a hand to then do stuff.
Well, in Seven Wonders, you pick one, play one.
No, you build your hand. Do you? I don't fucking remember.
You pick one, play one.
Oh.
Yeah, because you always found one, picked it, played it, and passed it. You'd always get...
Oh, no, you are right. Yeah.
So it was pretty much that. It was Seven Wonders.
Goes to show how long I played Seven Wonders. Okay, so then Seven Wonders, where, you pick one and then play one, but then you pass it. So when you're using your cards to get resources, if you're trying to get resources for a card that is in your hand, you're hoping it comes back to you.
Yep.
But that's when your opponent can be like, oh... I see. That's what you're trying to get. So I'm just going to use that for either its ability or for its resources. And even then, that doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me like it does in Seven Wonders. Because a lot of it is... It doesn't really feel hateful. Because for the most part, your opponent is going to want resources. The upgrades.
Right. And also, the ways to build these, they're not drastically different, a lot of them. So, like, you can, even if that one card goes, chances are there's something you'll be able to build.
Yeah.
Or
well, actually,
produce.
there was a perfect example in the game we just played where I had a bunch of rye, and I think one water and one something else, and I was building for a particular card, but then the cards you handed me, I had resources for them as well. I'm like, oh, okay, well, never mind. I don't need to wait. But that would be the only thing I can see of someone being like, oh, I'm just gonna...
Right.
But at least it's like I'm getting a bunch of resources versus I'm just getting one coin. Don't want you to have this? One coin. It's like, really? One coin just to make sure I don't get a card? What do you think?
I like it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I really enjoy it. The multi-use cards, having 3 things you can do with each card. Being able to use it as an upgrade, produce it, or gain the resources.
Yeah.
I also like the way you can stack, how the resources stack.
Yeah.
It kind of makes you think, because when you put down, you get everything above it too. So it kind of, you can really flood your storage really quick.
Yeah.
If you do that, but which in turn makes you have to share with your neighbor.
Your neighbor.
So it's just
that
like,
is so interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And then being able to trade the cards, in the dry phase, since you're not passing. That kind of is a weird way of passing, because if you trade, then I might like the one you put up there. There's a lot of little elegant things to this that makes it just awesome. And we'll probably talk about I figure what you're going to talk about here in a little bit about the
cleaning, the
cleanup and stuff, but you get those out of there to make room for new stuff when you play an upgrade. So you kind of have to take that into account. And
well, because there was one time, the reason at the very end when I grabbed this wheat, it was to do it was because one of my cards was a bread card that required wheat, and I'm like, oh, I only have a room for one bread, and I already had one there, and I'm like, I didn't need that wheat after all.
Right.
So then I try to course correct. Because the scoring in this game is your lowest score out of 2. Between 2 cities does that. Between your 2 cities, whichever has the lowest score is the one is your final score. So the way that you manage that is also pretty interesting. Like, I had more bread than I did water, but my water one had a 9 in it. So I was trying to compensate for that. And I'm also interested in, it's like, how much of my scoring came into effect from because you gave me way more resources than I gave you. It's like, did that take... I'm sure that probably did come into effect.
I'm sure.
It'd be nice to be to calculate and be like, how many of my cards did I score based off the resources you gave me? Probably 2 of them, I think.
Yeah.
Because I remember you gave me a water, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to use this card to get a water anymore. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, you made it an upgrade.
Yeah, I chose to make it an upgrade instead. Yeah. But yeah, so let's go over and it's such a weird... It is a negative.
Well, and I think I have a way to justify it.
I also do too. Because I said it's not that big of a deal, but I wouldn't call it a nitpick. I actually do find it... Because in the game, you pay resources to store cards in your brewery or your bread house, your bakery.
You produce them.
You produce them.
Yeah.
The way I was thematically putting it was they were an order being made.
Gotcha.
So it's like, this is the bread order, this is the beer order. And then they sit there. So, and each of them can only hold one, ignoring any upgrades that you might have. So then, one of your actions, so the cards can either be used for resources, for the orders, or for an upgrade. If you do an upgrade, that's how they come off into your scoring phase. Elysium, where it's like, okay, now it's not quite like Elysium because you don't get anything for them, but it's like, hey, now they're in my scoring pile. And you do that the entire game, except at the very end, anything that's produced freely comes off. And my only justification is because of the nature of it being a friendly game.
Well,
that's why they're not trying to punish anyone.
I think it's a viewpoint, because I think how it needs to be looked at is as soon as you produce it, they're scored. If you got those points right there, you just in order to get more points, you have to make a move to get. I mean, I think that's the way they're going with it, because I think once you produce them, those points are yours. If you left them there the whole game. that's 6 points that's just sitting there. You're just not producing anything else.
I guess.
That's how I'm kind of...
I just think it's weird that it's like the entire game you have to actively use a card, one of your precious 5 actions, to pull them off to start producing more. That it's like if someone... Because the entire time for the final fall phase, I was like meticulously planning the 5 cards I had to be able to build the beer that I wanted and then pull them both off. And it's like, oh no, you can just do that. You can just put them all there, and at the end of the game, just make them and put them there. And it's like, well, I kind of feel like there should be some punishment if you mismanage your card count. Maybe they were trying to do away with any randomness, because the beer and bread cards are shuffled together.
Yeah.
Maybe they were trying to...
Yeah, you do kind of punish yourself if you just leave it there, though, and don't pull it off, because you're not scoring any points, you know? I mean, you have to kind of pull them off, too.
Yeah. But there are upgrades that let your brewery and stuff hold more, so you theoretically could get those and then just like have 3 and 3 in each, and then just be like...
I don't know how many there are, because I saw this one's as a beer one, but I don't know how many.
There was a bread one for sure.
Yeah, but I don't think there's like enough to make it like where it's like...
Funny, these 3 cards, funny enough, or you may hold one additional bread card in your bakery. I mean, maybe that's a different strategy.
Yeah.
You just actually get those upgrades to hold them up, and at the very end of the game... You just pull them
It's just
all
that's
off.
a lot of resources, though. I mean, you can only hold...
That's like your whole game. It's like literally just trying to sandbag.
Most of these bigger ones are 6, 7 resources, and you can only hold... I mean, I know there's extra ways, but you only have 9 spots to start off the game. So it's like... There's ways to get around it.
There's 6 rounds, 5 actions each, so 30. You get 30 actions. I'm not saying... Again, it's just weird of kind of a... The entire game, you don't get anything for free. Well, I guess you get resources. You don't get that action for free until the very end, where it's like, here you go. It's not that big of a deal. It is just something that I was like, oh, okay. Because, I mean, it didn't matter in terms of scoring, but it's like, oh, hey, cool, I can just build this. And my only thing is they didn't want it to be that kind of like, you know, fuck you at the very end. Sorry you got screwed over by only ever getting beer cards. Which I thought that was also going to be a problem. When you shuffle the beer and bread, I'm like, oh, someone's just going to get handed all beer cards. But because you're passing...
Yeah, it all mixes in well.
It does. I never once felt like... We both were like, where's the wheat?
Yeah.
And I finally got it. I'm like, I don't even need it. I just like having it in my... Yeah, that is the interesting part, is when you are passing resources, you get to choose what you're handing over. And
because what was a big thing, and whether it still wouldn't have made a difference, it would have made it closer, was because this is the one I needed the wheat for. And it would have been because this is the only bread card I had in my hand.
Gotcha. See,
so like if I needed this, because everything else was beer, and that wasn't gonna help my score, because I knew that all I had was these bread, so I had 10 points no matter what.
Gotcha.
I did.
Yeah.
So it was like I was wanting that, but then there was no wheat, so I was just like, it's done.
Yeah. I guess there's not a lot of ways, if you're not getting any cards that give you a particular resource, that can happen. There are abilities and stuff that do kind of help mitigate that, but you can get locked in a way where it's like, I can't get this resource.
At the end of the day, it's a 30 to 45 minute game.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you know how to play it, you could probably whip this out in no time.
Yeah.
You know, and stuff, so...
Yeah. Because...
I mean, it's really fast.
If you had gotten that one, it would have been 22 to 17.
Yeah, I would have made it more... Right. I just couldn't... I could never get the wheat to do that, and then I had a handful of beer. This was all the beer I had in my hand.
It's so much.
Yeah, it was just like... So,
anyway. It has endgame scoring. Like, that was what I was planning on. Was banking on mitigating, because you had way more orders done. I only had 5. You had, 7?
Yes.
You had 7 complete. So you had 2 more orders than I did, but then I got, like, extra points to help spread the love, where it's like, oh, okay, if my bread is higher, then I can dump some more points into my beer to make it, to kind of close that gap. I always love that mechanism of the lower of your 2 scores, because then you have to kind of try and balance, which, balanced, as all things should be, damn it. But yeah, this one, it's unique. I can't think of any game that plays like this in a head-to-head style that isn't like some grandiose resource management game. small footprint with extremely clean playstyle. And if you have any questions on the abilities,
yeah, it has everything, and all the ability upgrades are listed out in the back with examples, and I mean the whole phases of the game is just simple.
Yeah, simple to learn, but still deep in strategy, where you don't feel like you're going through the motions. It doesn't. I mean, I wouldn't consider this a filler game because it's like 45 minutes. But some people might like 30-minute might be their gap or their ceiling of filler. But I'm like, this is like in the same like realm as like games like Calico and stuff like that, where you're thinking the entire time, but you're not overthinking.
Right.
You know, like I don't know. What do I want to do? Like, because you had a massive resource engine. I just went all in on endgame. So there's a lot of different strategies. So maybe
there could be a little bit of AP for people that are prone to that with this, because you have to look at those hand of cards each time to decide. And there's 3 choices per card, and then 5 cards to start with. I mean, but
and then the cards that you use as resources are the ones you pull back in the next phase, and then you just get kind of some new cards.
Yeah.
So then it's like, But I mean, you could theoretically play some cards as resources, but then plan for the next one to score it.
That's what I was trying to do, but I couldn't. I wasn't getting the right stuff. But I was trying to do resources, and I was looking at the
I wasn't doing recipes. That at all. Like, I was using them as resources for what I was using in that round, and then I was hoping resources I had, I'd be able to, get cards and be like, oh, hey. But then the trading element is so nice, too. I think I traded for resources once, but I was like, oh, that's a perfect endgame scoring ability that I could use. Yeah. I'm very, very pleased with this one. I like it a lot. Do you have any negatives? Any issues?
I honestly don't. I mean, and go really quick. I had a thought on the AP part of it. The deck's not very big either. So once you've played it enough times and you know the cards, I mean, it's not like
there's 7.
Like there's
7 cards left in the deck by the time you're done. But then just the sheer amount of randomness that you're getting each round. And like the thing about it is, like, we were both wanting wheat, but we were really only wanting them because we weren't really using wheat for anything. Like, a lot of mine, this is the only card I have that uses wheat.
Yeah, it was my bread card at the end is the one I was needing it the most.
But you can build upgrades based off of, hey, I'm just going to always generate any type of resource. When you brew beer or bake bread, you may spend 2 wheat as either a hop or a rye. Like, I had a bunch of ways to get rye, and that's where a lot of my scoring came from, was from generating rye. It's... Scott, you got a solid one here. Would I like to see an expansion just because I like upgrades and more variety? Sure. I think this could probably be like a small mini pack upgrade just for more cards.
Yeah, just a little bit more cards.
Yeah, it doesn't need like this another whole thing. But I mean, actually, the games I've played of Scott's lately have been good. I stay away from Tiny Epic. I don't like any of them. But his
Galaxies is the only one I like.
Do you like? His Dragons were Almanac. His Almanac games were really good, so I enjoyed both of those, and then this one. So, yeah, if you like head-to-head, if you like Watergate, and you like that, I mean, they don't play anything close to each other, but if you like that head-to-head kind of like, I wouldn't really say this is getting to the head of your opponent. Watergate is kind of like that, right. But if you're into that back and forth kind of style, then I would highly recommend this. I think the name is dumb. It makes sense.
I mean,
it makes sense, but this is not. People aren't running to the shelves to look at beer and bread. Like, I do like the cover. The cover is nice. This is nice. This is a nice, peaceful game. The board is nice. The feeling you get when playing this, it's not like, "Ooh, I'm gonna fuck you over. Right. I'm taking all the hops."
They could have done like what was that one damn game that the fair, the park. Remember the one that we didn't like, the not fun fair, but it was unfair.
Like Unfair.
Where you go and screw over.
Yeah, you just shut down your...
It's like, that could be an expansion. I'm going to go over and I'm going to burn his fields.
Remove all the resources. Steal the resources. Kill his cattle. What?
Go cow tipping.
Yeah, they could have done that, but no. Just the rule of, I'm getting resources, I can't hold it, here you go.
Yeah. Is
nice. And you can be like, oh, no thanks. Or you can do what you did, and you're like, oh, you're all full over there? Well, they're all going away. Because the one rule is I can't choose to get rid of stuff if you're passing it over. Which, again, thematically is kind of weird. Because, well, if you're giving it to me, it's like, I don't really need all that wheat over there. Yeah, I'll take what you got. But mechanically, I see why. Otherwise, it wouldn't really be a head-to-head game. It'd be like, let's just make orders together.
Let's have one big 18-thing storage, and we'll just...
Yeah, it's like, why don't we just... It's cooperative. So, I think he struck a pretty good balance here.
Yep, I think so.
All right, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you giving Noel Beer and Bread?
Oh, gosh. Because I like Seven Wonders so much, and I know this is going to get played a bunch, because Amy hasn't played this yet, I would say... 8.5.
8.5.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit higher. I'm actually giving this a 9.
Yeah.
I really like it. And again, because my taste of games has slightly changed in that I don't want to crunch over games. Like, I got rid of all my Beetle games, which obviously they're nothing close to this. But it's like, I still want to strategically think, but it's like, well, I don't really want to play a Garfield game head-to-head. Oh, but this one still gives me that same itch. And I can play other games afterwards. So, and it's just, you could see he took ideas from other stuff, the Between Two Cities of lowest score, the drafting from Seven Wonders, the resource management. Nothing here is, like, unique, but it's all twisted in a different way that makes it feel different. So,
I would agree.
Yeah. Well, that's our thoughts on Beer and Bread. Let us know what you think of the game in the comments below. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you. Hey everyone, thank you for watching, and I really hope that you enjoyed the video. If you would like to see more of my content, go ahead and click that subscribe button and the bell to be notified whenever I upload any new content. If you feel like supporting the channel, you can go ahead and click that Patreon link to be taken to my Patreon, and any help is truly appreciated. Other than that, stick around for any other run-throughs or reviews or cool top 10s or whatever I feel like putting on. Other than that, like, comment, share, and subscribe, and have a wonderful whatever time of day it is for you.